Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So years ago, I worked with a teenage girl, and she had a total meltdown over an issue which, if I tell you, maybe we won't understand, but it was real to her. She suddenly got into a mind space where she started regretting saying bad things about her friends a year ago. So all she did was she would call up her friends and said, look, I may have said this about you, I'm sorry. And her friend said, we don't care whether you've said it or not, just get over it. But it was a loop in her mind, and she became totally dysfunctional because of it. Now when I'm voicing it to you, you as a third person, you find it, what's the fuss all about, right? But when our mind goes into its own loop of, oh my God, what if I get a stroke? What if this happens? What if that happens? It's almost as ridiculous to a third person, to somebody who's outside you. But to you at that moment, it's very real. And sanity comes in recognizing that it's not real. It's just a programming in your mind. So Osho says it very beautifully. He says the realm of no self or no mind is real. Behind thoughts, we have a realm of no mind or no self. The brain is real. The brain, the hardwiring is real. But what's not real is the thoughts that come up. They are just programmed outputs. And we take our thoughts so seriously, so literally, so identified with them, that we lose a very important poise of the being, which is called equanimity, right? So keep this in mind, that very often when thoughts are taking you on trips, when they are demonizing people, when they are demonizing life, wisdom is about recognizing they are not real. They are just programs. They have as much power over me as much as I believe in them. So we come to Sri Aurobindo's words. It's not in your PDF because I found it after we made the PDF. It's from Thoughts and Aphorisms. Now mainly we lose our equanimity when things don't go our way, right? When we don't get the outcomes we want, when the results don't come the way we would have them come. So Sri Aurobindo writes in Aphorism 175, because a good man dies or fails, and the evil live and triumph, is God therefore evil? A normal question that comes to us, doesn't it? A good man dies or fails, and the evil live and triumph. Is God therefore evil? I do not see the logic of the consequence. I must first be convinced that death and failure are evil. I sometimes think that when they come, they are a supreme momentary good. failure, when it comes, is supreme momentary good, good for the moment. But we are the fools of our hearts and nerves and argue that what they do not like or desire must of course be an evil. We are fools of our minds and heart, and what we do not like or desire must be evil. Aphorism 176. When I look back on my past life, I see that if I had not failed and suffered, Sri Aurobindo says, I would have lost my life's supreme blessings. If I had not failed and suffered, I would have lost my life's supreme blessings. Yet, at the time of the suffering and failure, I was vexed with the sense of calamity. Because we cannot see anything but the one fact under our noses, therefore we indulge in all these snifflings and clamours. Be silent, ye foolish hearts. Slay the ego, learn to see and feel vastly and universally. Aphorism 177. The perfect cosmic vision and cosmic sentiment is the cure of all error and suffering. The perfect cosmic vision, vision of the whole, and cosmic sentiment is the cure of all error and suffering. But most men succeed only in enlarging the range of their ego. So somewhere else Sri Aurobindo says that look at life with the soul's vision and become the master of circumstances instead of its slave. So normally we are slaves to circumstances because we are not looking with the soul's vision. We are looking, Myra, just move a little so I can see Priya Sakhi. We are looking with our ego's vision, with our thoughts' vision, and so we see things as fortunate, unfortunate, flattering, critical. But if we looked with the soul's vision, we would become the master of circumstances rather than its slave. So let's take a very concrete example. Suppose you have a person in your life who is a difficult person, who may be very contrary to your idea of what the ideal should be, who could be maybe very critical, could be very dismissive, whatever. We have all sorts of people in our lives. Now the normal way of looking at it is to either blame the person or to blame myself. You are bad or I am bad. But one of us has to be bad if it's like this. But if we looked at it with the soul's vision, we would take away the blame. In the scheme of the whole, we would see that this difficult person is playing exactly the role he needs to play in life in the evolutionary scheme of things. And I play the game of evolution well if I can completely, fully, smilingly accept that this person is playing his role to perfection. So Eckhart Tolle writes that to accept the unacceptable is greatness. And where do we source that greatness but in that part of us which is great, which is our soul? We cannot accept the unacceptable with our mind, right? But if we go deep inside and we tap into a truth that this world is not really about declaring people as good or bad, declaring myself as good enough or bad enough. This whole life is a field of evolution, of growth. And in this field, everyone is playing their role to perfection. So if I may have a family member who's difficult like that, isn't it? I may have a family member who keeps triggering me. But if I can once touch that sweet spot where I'm not bothered by the person because I'm not allowing myself to shrink, because of what the person says, nor am I shrinking the person in my mind, but I'm fully recognizing that this person is playing his role to perfection. Let me try and play my role to perfection, which is completely accepting that you are like this and I don't want to change you. You know, I saw a very lovely Instagram clip which talked about statistics done to over couples who had long, relatively happy marriages, because divorce rates are what they are. And the reel says that, guess what's the secret of the long lasting marriage? So some people said love, blah blah, and it said no. The secret is that each partner has fully accepted the other and has given up the hope that the person will change. Our problem is we keep hoping that if something is not in consonance with our parameter of how they should be, I'll be happy only if they change. But if I can fully accept that maybe in this birth they won't change at all, can I live with it, and live with it not with gritted teeth but actually with a smile? Can I? Then, I mean, not just in partners, this is true in any relationship. We are banging our head against the wall in vain if we are waiting for the person to change. Sometimes they will, if their season comes, they will change. But more often than not, they may not change at all. Then am I going to keep staking my happiness and my peace of mind over something that may not change? It's a more intelligent thing to do, to just completely accept that won't change and yet try to be happy with it the way it is. Does that make sense? Any questions? Yeah?
So if that person, a difficult person, is playing his role perfectly for my evolution, then how is it fair to say that he will have to bear karmic consequence for what he is doing?
Don't bother about what they see. I always say in yoga only. So if you're the difficult person, you think about changing your difficult nature. Why bother about the karmic consequences? The karmic consequences will be there, because this game of evolution is not only for my growth, it's for everyone's growth, even for the difficult person's growth. So he will bear whatever he has to in his way, but I'm not bothered about that. When I'm on the path, I have to bother only about myself.
Doesn't it contradict with the karma theory that everybody has to pay for what he is doing?
So that they will. Why does it contribute?
Because he's playing a role for my...
He's playing it, but that's the whole play of the higher intelligence, that God uses the various Ravans in our life to create Ramas. But Ravan has his own life journey. He'll follow his own path in whatever way. Through it all, there's growth.
So it's possible that he's also going through that journey for his evolution.
Of course, everyone's going through their journey for their evolution, and there's no contradiction to that really. Yeah? So now, these are beautiful, not in your PDF again, but these are beautiful words of the mother. On a smile. A smile acts upon difficulties as the sun upon clouds, it disperses them. And somewhere else the mother says that if you see me, I am always laughing and I'm always smiling even in the midst of the greatest difficulties. And that doesn't mean that I don't take them seriously, but I'm so confident of grace and things that will work it out that I don't take the difficulties seriously enough for me to get into a from. So the mother saying, I don't think that one can ever smile too much. Someone who knows how to smile in all circumstances is very close to true equality of soul. Generally speaking, man is an animal who takes himself terribly seriously. To know how to smile at oneself in all circumstances, to smile at one's sorrows and disillusions, ambitions and sufferings, indignation and revolt, what a one powerful weapon with which one to overcome oneself. Learn to smile always and in all circumstances, to smile at your sorrows as well as at your joys, your sufferings as well as your hopes. For in a smile there is a sovereign power of self-mastery. So a smile is very closely connected to equality, to equanimity, to being able to take what life gives without really shrinking. So equanimity, to cultivate this quality of being unfazed by life, has two aspects. One is faith. Faith that if I've been taken to it, I'll be taken through it, and that there's a reason I've been taken to it. It's not just to torture me. It's not just because I'm bad or the person doing harm to me is bad. It's because there's an evolutionary purpose to everything. So to have that faith brings the first level of equanimity, but it may not be enough. What you need also along with faith is the capacity to step back from your thoughts, the capacity to disidentify with thoughts and watch them. Like I gave you that example of that girl at the beginning of the class who tortured herself thinking that, oh, I've said this about this one, I've said that about someone, and feeling guilty about it when there was no truth to it. But she was so identified with those thoughts that she could not be objective. You're a third person to it, so when I'm telling you about it, you're finding it ridiculous. But when you're identified with it, you don't find it ridiculous. So to be equanimous, one must have the capacity to step back from thoughts and be able to watch thoughts like you are a third person to it. Okay, so yes?
Sometimes when we tell that person sorry for whatever I've done, even after a year, you feel much better, right?
Yeah. So you're right. After apologizing for what you've done, you feel much lighter. Whether the person accepts your apology or not, if you have genuinely from within felt you've done wrong and apologized, it's a burden off your head.
And who puts all these thoughts around?
It's a program. It's like how does AI answer anything you ask ChatGPT in seconds? There's no person. ChatGPT is not a person. It's a program, right? So we have our personal AI, which is our thought. It's a program which just keeps running. So I keep telling you, every thought you think is the sum total of every thought you've thought in the past. So it self-propagates itself, but you have the illusion if there's a thought, it's my thought, I'm thinking it and I have to take it seriously. But most of our thoughts are gibberish, and one of the best gifts we can give ourselves is to not take our thoughts seriously. When they are pulling us into low mind states, to be able to say, but it's only a thought. Actually, I'm not going to fail. Actually, so and so doesn't hate me as much as my mind is telling me they hate me. So it's a real gift to give yourself to train your thoughts, to not go on every trip that thoughts take you on. So this is one of the most celebrated shlokas of the Gita. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samata or equanimity or equality itself is yoga. So translated it becomes, fixed in yoga, do thy actions, Krishna tells Arjun, having abandoned attachment, having become equal in failure and success, O Dhananjay, another name for Arjun, for it is equality that is meant by yoga. Samatvam yoga Uchyate. Sri Aurobindo's translation of this sutra: attaining to a perfect equality in the soul, mind and heart, we realize our true self of oneness, one with all beings, one too with that which expresses itself in them and in all that we see and experience. This equality and this oneness are the indispensable twin foundations we must lay down for a divine being, a divine consciousness, a divine action. Not one with all, we are spiritually not divine, not equal soul to all things, happenings and creatures. We cannot see spiritually, cannot know divinely, cannot feel divinely towards others. The supreme power, the one eternal and infinite, is equal to all things and to all beings. And because it is equal, it can act with an absolute wisdom according to the truth of its works and its force, and according to the truth of each thing and of every creature. So that's coming back to what we were saying about evolution. Suppose A is going through something unfortunate. Everyone looking around will say, oh poor thing, she's unfortunate, etc. But actually looking at it from another point of view, from a spiritual point of view, it may be the most fortunate thing to happen to her. I actually have a friend who got breast cancer when we were about 25-ish, and today, decades later, she says the best thing that ever happened to me was the breast cancer, because it changed her whole trajectory of living thereafter. So at that time, we don't realize it, and I don't wish it on anyone. But if it comes, it's not because we are unfortunate or bad, but it's a very special chance to grow through it. Any pain that comes is a very special opportunity to grow. So that's what Sri Aurobindo is saying. The supreme power, the one eternal and infinite, is equal to all things and to all beings. And because it is equal, it can act with an absolute wisdom according to the truth of its works and its force, and according to the truth of each thing and of every creature. So if we really, really understand this and we bring this knowing to life in a difficult moment, we can be equal. Let's make it really concrete. Suppose we come back to that difficult person in our life. Suppose the person's behaving in the usual difficult way, which triggers me, which makes me feel maybe criticized, maybe unseen, unloved, unheard, whatever. How do I bring this to rescue me out of the unhappiness in that moment? Suppose there's a person who keeps telling me, you don't know anything, keep quiet. A common enough thing from many people. Suppose there is a person like that, then how do we bring this to life? First thing is, whenever the person starts saying that, your mind will start getting defensive. And offense is the best form of defense, right? You will start attacking the person either in your mind or verbally, that you have no right to say this, you're always putting me down, how dare you say this, blah blah blah. But we've done that 100 times and it's never worked, right? So shouldn't we look at doing it another way when the same trigger comes? So first thing is, arrest this programming in the mind which is making the person wrong, or if I'm a self-defeating person making myself wrong, I'm only bad, that's why this person keeps. Both are useless ways of thinking. So first stop that and remind yourself that there is a meaning in each curve and line of life. If this person is behaving like this with me, somewhere he's offering me a chance to grow. When will I have accessed that chance? When somewhere I am just not affected. When I'm not using my life energies to change that person. I'll try to get into a dialogue with that person to try to get him to change his way of thinking, right? But suppose I give up all that. Suppose I fully accept that in this birth, this is the role the person's going to play perfectly well in my life. That doesn't mean he's bad or I'm bad. It's my chance to access perfect equality. It's my chance to smile at this, recognizing that if everything is God, it's God inside this person playing a role in my life. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does it seem doable? Yeah? And remain calm. If I keep doing that, then I'm playing this Leela, this game well.
Calmness is difficult. To understand it and to act on it is now at least possible, but the calmness doesn't come.
No, if you understand it, that understanding itself brings calmness. Then you have understood it mentally. If you understand it in a very physical way, really from deep inside, then you don't see. The point is to take blame out of the equation. So long as you blame him or yourself or her or yourself, you can't remain calm. But if you really understand that there's no one to blame and this is just a play, a Leela, then, and it has to come from a dimension beyond the mind. It can't come from the mind. There's a beautiful line in Savitri. Calm is the self's victory overcoming fate. Yeah? So, self is the soul deeper than mind. So, when the self comes forward into the equation, it brings its calm. Your fate is how you react to the moment, right? If you react in your old reactive way, you're creating karma where the same thing will come back to you again and again. But if in that moment the soul force comes forward with its calm and you actually remain unaffected, then that calm is the self's victory overcoming fate. Then you've cancelled your karma and this recurring cycle may not be required in your life. So, further Sri Aurobindo says, so in the Gita, Sri Krishna gives us some definitions of yoga. One of them is Samatvam yoga Uchyate. Samatha itself is yoga. And the other one is yoga is skill in works. Yeah? So yoga, says the Gita, is skill in works. And by this phrase, the ancient scripture meant that the transformation of mind and being to which it gave the name of yoga brought with it a perfect inner state and faculty out of which the right principle of action and the right spiritual and divine result of works emerged naturally like a tree out of its seed. Certainly it did not mean that the clever general or politician or lawyer or shoemaker deserved the name of yogin. It did not mean that any kind of skill in works was yoga. So if you're a very skilled politician and you're playing your politics well, that's not skill in works. But in yoga, it signified a spiritual condition of universal equality and God union. And by the skill of the yogic worker, it intended a perfect adaptation of the soul and its instruments to the rhythm of the divine and universal Prakriti, liberated from the shackles of egoism and the limitations of the sense mind. So, Sri Aurobindo writes somewhere that for the purposes of your soul, it's better to be a very skilled and perfect shoemaker than an incompetent and famous king. Because a famous king, he might be famous, but he's incompetent, he's not skilled in works. So, in the orchestra of life, there will be a hierarchy, but our job is not to rise in that hierarchy, but our job is to play our role in the hierarchy as perfectly as we can. Do you understand? We waste a lot of time trying to outshine others, trying to climb over others, but somewhere that will always leave us incomplete, because each of us has our role to play in life, and that role only we can play, and skill in works is about playing that role perfectly rather than trying to go ahead of others. So that is yoga's skill in works. Whatever you're given to do, do it perfectly. You can't get every role and you can't be the best in every role. It's not possible. But whatever you're given to do, do it as sincerely and perfectly as possible. Now, synthesis of yoga of Sri Aurobindo, page 223. The Lord is there equally in all beings. We have to make no essential distinctions between ourselves and others. So earlier I said that Sri Aurobindo said, look at life with the soul's vision and become the master of circumstances rather than its slave. Now, what is the soul's vision? One very important aspect of the soul's vision is the capacity to constantly remember that beyond what our senses see, everything is one being that the Vedanta calls Brahma, God, whatever. So everything is equally that God. So if I remember that itself is very sobering and can bring me some level of equality. So Sri Aurobindo is saying, the Lord is there equally in all beings. We have to make no essential distinctions between ourselves and others. The wise and the ignorant, friend and enemy, man and animal, the saint and the sinner. We must hate none, despise none, be repelled by none. For in all we have to see the one disguised or manifested at his pleasure. He is a little revealed in one or more revealed in another, or concealed and wholly distorted in others according to his will and his knowledge of what is best for that which he intends to become in form in them and to do in works in their nature. He is a little revealed in one. So a person who I say is very nice, Sri Aurobindo says in that person God is a little revealed and more revealed in the other. More revealed in the person who I say is nice, little revealed in the person who I say is bad, or concealed and wholly distorted in others. So the person who I call wicked, God is wholly concealed and distorted. But this is according to his will. He decides in whom he'll be totally concealed, in whom he'll be a little revealed, in whom he'll show himself more. And he decides this out of a wisdom which we cannot fathom. So we actually can't blame the wicked person for being wicked, because it's God's choice to be concealed in that wicked person. All is our self, one self that has taken many shapes. Again, Sri Aurobindo's words from Synthesis of Yoga. For in all happenings we shall see the will of the Master of all works and results, and a step in the evolving expression of the Divine. He manifests himself to those who have the inner eye that sees, in forces and their play and results, as well as in things and in creatures. All things move towards a divine event. What is the divine event towards which all things move? Union with the divine, to discover the truth about ourselves. Right now we don't know who we really are, but to really find out who we are, that is the divine event. All things move towards a divine event. Each experience, suffering and want, no less than joy and satisfaction, is a necessary link in the carrying out of a universal movement which it is our business to understand and second. So all that we've been talking about is about this business. Our life is a universal business, universal movement, which is, it is our business to understand and second. To revolt, to condemn, to cry out is the impulse of our unchastened and ignorant instincts. Revolt, like everything else, has its uses in the play and is even necessary, helpful, decreed for the divine development in its own time and stage. But the movement of an ignorant rebellion belongs to the stage of the soul's childhood or its raw adolescence. The ripened soul does not condemn but seeks to understand and master. That's the thing. When our soul is immature, it will revolt against the hardships of life, and that's also fine. It's a stage of growth, and Mother says it's permitted. But the ripened soul does not condemn but seeks to understand and master. Why is this pain coming to me? Why has this difficult person played this role in my life? What do I have to learn from? What reactivity do I have to transcend? The ripened soul does not condemn but seeks to understand and master, does not cry out but accepts or toils to improve and perfect, does not revolt inwardly but labors to obey and fulfill and transfigure. Take this back to that same trigger, the difficult person in our life. What will a ripened soul do? Does not revolt inwardly, but labors to obey. What does it mean to obey? To say, to accept that yes, for reasons my mind can't understand, God has chosen to give me this person, this circumstance, and fulfill and transfigure. Fulfill what? God has put this person in my life to fulfill some evolutionary plan, some soul stride forward. Let me try and fulfill that instead of revolting. How will I fulfill it? By transforming the programming in my mind. We discuss, no, that your thoughts are not real, they are just programs in your mind. How will I transform it? That is the challenge put to me. Therefore, we shall receive all things with an equal soul from the hands of the Master. Now, words of Sri Aurobindo from Steps to Freedom and Mastery, a compilation by A.S. Dalal. Inner growth essentially consists in emerging progressively from the unconsciousness in which we normally live. So any anger and reactivity is unconsciousness. Yeah, it's an unconsciousness we fall into, in which we normally live, thereby becoming more and more conscious. From the spiritual viewpoint, our life is guided by a higher wisdom in such a way that all life experiences lead to a progressively greater consciousness. Such a marvelous line. Our life is guided by a higher wisdom in such a way that all, she says, all life experiences lead to a progressively greater consciousness. God doesn't give us the gift of life necessarily to be happy, but to be more conscious. So sometimes to make us more conscious, we may have to go through periods of unhappiness, but those periods of unhappiness can make us bitter or better. It's our choice. Do we want to grow and become better, or do we want to keep getting angry and revolting and become bitter and push our evolution further back? Now, words of Sri Aurobindo. It is in the peace behind and that something truer in you that you must learn to live and feel it to be yourself. So many times when we are doing yoga or we are doing some meditation, we feel a calm, right? Now that calm wasn't created, it was always there inside us. But when the thoughts slowed down, you glimpse that calm, you experience that calm. But this calm is always there, it's the peace behind. And Sri Aurobindo says that it is the peace, it is in the peace behind and that something truer in you that you must learn to live and feel it to be yourself. You must regard the rest as not your real self, but only a flux of changing or recurring movements on the surface, which are sure to go as the true self emerges. So he's saying, thought is not your true self. Although you feel you are your thoughts, thoughts are changing moment to moment. They cannot be you. But behind your thoughts, there is a peace. That peace is you. So don't keep identifying with thoughts, let them come and go. If you can keep the wideness and calm and also the love for the mother in the heart, then all is safe, for it means the double foundation of yoga, the descent of the higher consciousness with its peace, freedom and serenity from above, and the openness of the psychic which keeps all the effort or all the spontaneous movement turned towards the goal. So Sri Aurobindo says that in his yoga, two things are required: a constant love for the divine in the heart, a constant gratitude and a faith, and a poise in the peace behind, a capacity to witness thoughts. If we have both this, it's a strong twin foundation for the yoga. Yeah?
Sometimes someone does something and it hurts.
One second, you use this so that. Yeah.
Is it better now? Yeah. So sometimes someone says something and you feel hurt or angry about it. So is there a healthy way to express how you're feeling? Because it's also sometimes I feel like relationships improve when you're able to say that didn't work for me. I felt bad about it. So how can you accept, be in equanimity, yet say how you feel? Yeah.
So it is very important to express yourself, and if that expression helps, certainly use it, but never articulate when you're angry. First work on yourself to calm down, and then when you're peaceful about it, speak to the person. Never speak as a rule when you're angry, because you'll always say things you regret. And then also there are certain relationships where you've expressed 100 times, 1,000 times, and you've seen it's futile. Then understand that now there's no point expressing, now I have to do inner work on myself. So there are times when expression is very important, and there are times when you have to recognize that the person is not receptive to expression, in which case you work on yourself. So now these beautiful lines from Savitri, page 6. So for those of you, some of you are new to Savitri. Savitri is a book Sri Aurobindo wrote. He has taken the story of Satyavan and Savitri from Mahabharata, simple story where Savitri's husband Satyavan is destined to die in a year, and knowing this, Savitri marries him, and when Yama comes, Savitri follows Yama and somehow gets her husband back. So he has adapted that story to a story of evolution. Okay, so this is from a part, the first canto, which is the dawn before the day Satyavan is to die. It's the dawn before that. So Savitri is asleep and then she wakes up and she knows that this is the day Yama is going to come to take Satyavan away. So these are the lines. And Savitri too awoke among these tribes, these various human tribes, because Savitri was living with Satyavan in a forest. And Savitri too awoke among these tribes that hastened to join the brilliant summoner's chant. The brilliant summoner here is God. He summons wakefulness. He awakens all minds. And Savitri too awoke among these tribes that hastened to join the brilliant summoner's chant. And lured by the beauty of apparent ways, acclaim their portion of ephemeral joy akin to the eternity when she came. No part she took in this small happiness, a mighty stranger in the human field. Now Savitri was already born different. So the embodied guest within Savitri was the God essence. We all have God within us as the embodied guest. The embodied guest within made no response. The call that wakes the leap of the human mind, its checkered eager motion of pursuit, visited her heart like a sweet alien note. So normally, if our mind calls us that, oh, this one hates me, that is going to be bad, we quickly respond to it. Our mind calls and we instantly respond. But Savitri was a different kind of humanity. In her, there was no response to that call of the mind. So that's what the embodied guest within made no response. The call that wakes the leap of human mind, its checkered eager motion of pursuit, its fluttering hued illusion of desire visited her heart like a sweet alien note. Time's message of brief light was not for her. Okay, now we come to the end of the PDF, the last aphorism, where Sri Aurobindo says, I knew my mind to be conquered when it admired the beauty of the hideous. Hideous is ugly. When it admired the beauty of the hideous, yet felt perfectly why other men shrank back or hated. Can anyone explain this? I'm reading it again. I knew my mind to be conquered when it admired the beauty of the hideous. Hideous is ugly. Yet felt perfectly why other men shrank back or hated. Anyone? Or hated it. Hated the hideous. Can you please give it to him?
So it's the duality, because you started with Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. So in one point of it he is able to see the beauty in the hideous, and at another point he is able to understand why others would hate it because they are not able to see that beauty.
And he doesn't condemn those who hate it. See, if I find something beautiful and others can't find it beautiful, we say they are so insensitive, they are so like this. There's no judgment. I understand you are at your evolutionary curve and you're not able to see the beauty. So I understand that and I don't condemn you, but I still see the beauty. So I keep giving you this example of Mother Teresa. She was known to go into the streets of Calcutta and actually pick out lepers who were on the streets oozing their liquid, stinking, rats eating into them. So that's really to our senses as repulsive can get. But day after day she would go into the streets of Calcutta and clean the lepers and bring them into her home where they could die in dignity. She had a home where terminal people could at least die in dignity rather than just on the streets. And when people asked her, Mother, how do you do it? We can't bear the stench of being around them. How do you do this day after day? And she gave that beautiful reply that you are seeing an ugly leper who is repulsive. I am only seeing my Christ on the cross. She was Catholic and nursing him. So for Mother Teresa, this vision that everything was her Christ was very living. So she didn't find the leper hideous. She saw the beauty of her Christ in the leper. But she could understand why others would find them hideous, isn't it? So beautiful aphorism. I knew my mind to be conquered when it admired the beauty of the hideous, yet felt perfectly why other men shrank back or hated. Oh, now this is a gem. It's really a gem. It's one of his thoughts and aphorisms again. To feel and love the God of beauty and good in the ugly and the evil, and still yearn in utter love to heal it of its ugliness and its evil, this is real virtue and morality. Did you get it? Myra got it? I'll read it again. To feel and love the God of beauty and good in the ugly and the evil, and still yearn in utter love to heal it of its ugliness and evil, this is real virtue and morality. Can anyone explain? You want to? Come.
So basically I think like part of like being evolved is also like just seeing the beauty in almost everything. Like it's like your beauty projected in everything, good or bad, almost. I'm not sure.
And to yearn in utter love to heal it of its ugliness and its evil.
Yes, and also I think like by influence of like the way that you view something that is not as beautiful as like you could imagine. It is like also it's like seeing the potential in something and wanting, like caring so much for it that
Yeah, so it's go back to that same example. If we keep taking one example, we can go deeper into it, right? The difficult person in our life, that's ugly in our eyes, right? The behavior is ugly. The challenge is to feel and love the God of beauty and good in the ugly and the evil. To remind myself that this too is God, but not stop there and still yearn in utter love to heal it of its ugliness and evil. This is the real virtue and morality. Our man-made morality is you're bad, you're evil, you're wrong. I'm being righteous and moral and calling you wrong. But Sri Aurobindo gives us such a different definition of morality that even in things that are offensive, ugly, to feel and love the God of beauty and good in the ugly and the evil, and still yearn in utter love to heal it of its ugliness and its evil. This is real virtue and morality. Beautiful, no? So, then how do we reconcile this with what we said, that if there's a difficult person, sometimes we reach a point where you accept that the person may never change. So how do you reconcile it with this statement? That yes? Can you?
For me, the answer is not to change the person, but to hope to connect to the divine within that person. And with that hope, I'm at least sending the right energy towards that person. Instead of trying to change the person, I'm trying to have a view of the person which is not negative, and yet I'm trying to connect to that divine within, hoping that the person reaches their highest.
Yes, very nice. So I am seeing you as God. I'm giving up human efforts to change you, provided I've exhausted everything. Yeah, if I love you, I'll make my human efforts to change you, but maybe I've exhausted everything. Then I'm just accepting that you are put by God in my life to play a role. God Himself, because God is everything, so God is you also. He's come in my life playing the role you are playing, and you will change when your season to change come. I'm not giving up on you, because I can't give up on anyone. Everyone is God, and everyone will evolve in their own time. But I'm not making it my job in life to change you, right? I have goodwill for you. I have the hope that you will grow into your God potential in your own time. But I'm not breaking my head to change you, right? So let's just do a little contemplation based on this. And if you could practice this the whole week with your difficult person, and next week when we meet, you could just share how it worked or didn't work, just in terms of your inner state. Okay? So sit tall, rising spine, open heart. And with your eyes shut, just hear this aphorism again. To feel and love the God of beauty and good in the ugly and the evil, and still yearn in utter love to heal it of its ugliness and its evil, this is real virtue and morality. So keeping this in mind, you bring to mind the difficult person in your life. Maybe you allow a flashback of a memory which still hurts you when you think of it with this person. Now in that memory, the negative feeling can either be anger towards the person, if your mind is making the person wrong, or a feeling of inadequacy, if that memory is making you feel worthless, or a combination of both. Now just pause and bring to mind what we've studied, that neither am I wrong or less, nor is the person wrong or less. This is just the role the person is playing in my life to help me to grow. I'm not less because of it. The person is not less because of it. This is designed out of life's love for me I often feel like a reject of life when things go wrong in my relationships. But on the contrary, sometimes these situations are brought to me by life's love for me. So, can I just soften? Can I just see whatever I believe God to be in that person and God to be in myself? And I time travel back to that moment in the past when I felt shrunken because of the person's words. And with a smile in my heart, I send the me in the past metta. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. May I heal. May I stay open to the energies of love and forgiveness and equanimity. And then that person, very often the person's harsh behavior towards me has nothing to do with me, but because of unresolved pain in that person's life. Things that have happened to him or her that have closed inner doors to the energy of love and forgiveness. So you send that person metta. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you heal. May you open your energies in your own season to love and forgiveness. And hands in a namaste and a collective aspiration that somehow next time this person presents the same trigger to me, my response is different from how it is always. Not just in words, but in my consciousness within. May this sentence from Savitri, calm is the self's victory overcoming fate, be my truth. Calm is the self's victory overcoming fate. And hands in a namaste. Take a long, slow inhalation. Breathe out with Om. Om.